Here we go. All right, we're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
I'm Treacherous Trista.
And we're back for Behind the Monster series, and we have Marty Matulis here from American Horror Story and Evil, Teen Wolf, Sleepy Hollow, lots of different Star Treks. It's very cool to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Good to see you guys.
It's good to see you. Troy cannot be here. He's under the weather, but he says hello. The terrible.
Excellent. Yes. Hope he gets out from under the weather quickly.
Yeah.
It's not a good time to be under the weathers of anything.
No, because you assume, even if it's just a cold, you assume it could be, worse.
Oh, yeah. Every little sniffle, every little hiccup. I'm wondering, is this the one? Is this it?
Yeah.
Is it the coves?
Along those lines, how are you doing?
Doing very well. Thank you. Been road tripping, traveling around, kind of self-quarantining on the road, which seems a pretty viable option if you're out there. It's nothing but Sprinter vans and RVs as far as the eye can see.
It's like a survivalist movie.
Yeah, all we need are a few zombies chasing us and we're in good shape.
Right. I'm actually wearing a zombie sweater, Return of the Living Dead.
I can see, what am I looking at? Goats, dogs?
It's the half dogs from Return of the Living Dead, yes.
Got it. Very cool.
Yeah. It was a birthday present for my mom, so thanks, Mom, if she's watching.
It's very cool.
She's not watching.
Put in a good word to my mom.
Well, that's nice of you. Yeah. So where did you start in the business? Did you start doing the makeup stuff? Like, what was your beginning?
Well, beginning, and excuse the helicopters. I just can't get rid of them.
Something's after you.
Yeah, always. I was a theater kid going back to grade school and junior high school, and on into college. And then I went to college at Cal State Long Beach. And as you do at the time, you're a stone's throw from LA. And someone said, hey, we should go up and see if we can get on something. And the first thing we ever got on was just background on a Star Trek movie, which turned into pretty much the whole summer, which turned into meeting some makeup artists and then being invited back to the next Star Trek, was that Nemesis as a Reman, and sitting in the makeup chair day in, day out, started chatting the guys up. I said, how can I do more of this? And a good man named Kenny Myers said, what are you doing next June? Which kind of introduced me to the Monsterpalooza world, sitting for demos, and having proven myself as someone who could sit patiently for hours under makeup, with some acting chops behind that, started getting invited to other jobs along the line.
Is that how a lot of this stuff gets set up with the makeup department? Because when I mentioned we were doing this series, you were recommended by the mutual friend Jeremy, who said that
yes, love Jeremy.
He works with you a lot. And so I was just wondering, is that how a lot of the different roles pop up?
It is, to an extent. It's kind of a weird delineation where the makeup artists do have people that they've worked with in the past that they will recommend for jobs. That is how I was brought on to Evil, because of prior working experience with Joel Harlow. He knew that I could handle the acting parts, and he knew I could handle full body, full face prosthetic stuff. And so, having done that for years, he'll put me up and I'll throw my resume out. And if it's a decent match, that's usually how I come at it. It's a little different and a little more rare to come at it directly via casting into the makeup stuff. It's been more friendships and longstanding working relationships with these amazing, amazing makeup artists that I get to sit in front of and watch for hours as they do this amazing Academy Award-winning art right on my face. It's great. Obviously, that you understand why I'm still doing this, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say something you said there is they know you can also handle the acting part. Do you think sometimes that's overlooked for people who play a lot of monsters and different prosthetics?
I do. I think, perception's everything. And I think a lot of the people who get put into makeup might not have acting training at all. They might be more in line for a very physical role that requires stunt training. A lot of stunt guys are perfectly great actors, but it doesn't always match up hand in hand. Or you could just find someone who's, some gargantuan dude off the street to wear a massive suit, and he'll get thrown in. So it's usually up to the makeup artist to say, no, this guy can do this, this, and this, or this guy can do A, B, and C, and they'll pretty much try to line you up accordingly for the job.
Tris, do you have a question?
I do, yeah. I know a lot of actors that hate wearing cosmetic lenses, and I know some who don't mind it at all. So I'm wondering what your experience is with that.
I have worn contact lenses for vision since I was in junior high. So it wasn't a big stretch for me to go from that to some of the big full scleral lenses that they'll put in to really take the humanity away. And I've worked with outstanding lens techs, and they are so conscientious of your comfort and your eyes' health that personally I've never had a problem with it. It's never been difficult. Occasionally the length of time you're in them can start to wear a little bit, but as soon as there's a break, they're right up next to you, getting ready to pluck them out and give your eyes a break. I think it's fun. I love wearing them, actually. I think it really, like I said, it's something about the pink of the eye or the white of the eye, or sometimes like your mouth. Like that's the only giveaway in these makeups that you're still a guy in a makeup. So as soon as I can take that stuff away somehow, either through mouth black or the full sclerals, it just kind of lets the character exist a little more realistically. So
Are there any
I'm all for it.
Are there any prosthetics that do bother you?
I don't think so. I have yet to be so.
Challenge for anyone out there.
I mean, we jokingly call it being put into mouth jail. A lot of the characters I've played, because again, taking away something of your human face helps a character. So a lot of times they'll do a design that closes off your mouth, or sometimes your mouth and your nose, or sometimes you name it. And not giving too much away, there's a character that's currently being played, also designed by Joel, that the mouth is there, the nose is completely sealed off, ears they can accommodate usually through the makeup, and vision is next to nothing. But I just kind of go to my happy place and I trust these guys and their professionalism, and then wake up 2 hours later and get to go walk out on set and go rah for a while. And I think also knowing that no matter what I'm in, I know that I will get out. So I kind of carry that with me as well. It's not like I freak out in the chair and like, I'm going to be stuck in here forever. I know there's a finish line. So I just do my thing, go to my happy place and wait till the finish line.
So you go to your happy place. So like when they're actually putting the stuff on you, like, do you have a ritual that you do?
Not too much of a ritual. I do like to see what they're doing. So as long as I can, I'm trying to clock what's happening in the mirror. But some of the makeups can go 2, 3, 4. I think the longest was over 5 hours for something on Sleepy Hollow. And so, yeah, I try to meditate, not fall asleep, not twitch, but keep yourself in a calm space. Helps them. Nothing worse than a wiggly actor in the makeup chair.
Very
in this
just
realm.
Like your background here. Trista brought up before we started with the waterfall and everything.
Oh yeah. It's kind of a nautical thing. I'm in Oceanside, California right now, and we're decorated with.
I do hear the helicopters.
I'm not sure how the helicopters are fitting into the nautical thing, but we could probably work something out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I almost wore a Dawn of the Dead sweater, and it actually had helicopters on. It would have
Nice.
Been perfect.
I got to play a lovely zombie in Zach's version of The Dead.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun one.
Yeah. Was that your first time as a zombie?
That was first and nearly only. There were some semi-zombies on Sleepy Hollow, but yeah, that was great. I loved it. We, as you do, you start out pre-dawn, and then when you're done, since you're a zombie, they send you outside, and my makeup guy said, there's a fairly clean pile of mud over there. Go roll around in it. Like, great. Thank you. I will happily do that.
Yeah. That's kind of, I mean, zombies were always popular. But that's a little bit before, like, they just really took off and became mainstream. It's weird for me growing up as a zombie fan that, like, Walmart sells like zombie shirts on like kids' t-shirts and stuff. It's weird that it's
such a popular cultural commodity these days. Yeah, it's rich fodder. I mean, it's great stuff. You can go anywhere with it, as they have been.
Were you a horror fan as a kid?
Not too much of a horror fan. I was definitely in the pocket for Star Wars, anything sci-fi. I appreciated it. Like for Halloween, I would do anything to make myself gross and bloody. It was vampires. I figured out how to use the cheapest stuff you can get at Kmart to make like tendons and underskin and overskin that I could peel off, kind of little, again, just as disgusting as I could possibly make it. But I watched the classic monster movies was kind of my wheelhouse. I'd stay up late Friday nights and watch the vampires and the werewolves and mummies.
Excellent. Real Badger in the chat. He wants to know if you've ever worked with Bill Blair.
Bill Blair. Bill Blair sounds quite familiar. That strikes me as a Sleepy Hollow name.
Could be. And Changeman says, could you talk a little bit about your appearance in 2 Star Trek movies and most recently the Picard TV series?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was the first 2 movies were Insurrection as one of the Baku. That was the long summer job. That was kind of my first entry point into.
Topical name currently.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Nemesis after that. So that first job, there was a lot of time spent kind of in the Baku village, hanging around with Brent and the good captain and a few of the others who were there pretty regularly. And then there was one section where we were shooting up in the mountains by Mammoth, and there was an opportunity to kind of watch Patrick Stewart at work from close range. And even as a young pup, I recognized like when the cameras weren't rolling and he was not actively doing something, I had a question I was very curious about. I saw them preparing for a scene by closing their eyes, looking up at the sun. And I said, excuse me, sir, Mr. Patrick Stewart, sir, and kind of asked him about that. He very graciously said that it helps prepare the eyes so you don't blink and whatnot. So I thought, oh, great, Patrick Stewart and I are pals now. That's awesome. And then I cut to so many years later getting to see the wonderful work that they're doing on Picard. It was an absolute treat to get to walk down the hall and spook him as a Borg. XB, excuse me, not full Borg. Former
Borg, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was lovely to see those people again.
I think Nemesis is actually one of the more underrated Star Trek movies. Most people aren't. I don't think it gets enough credit. I think it's a good movie.
It's good fun. Yeah,
really
I have no
like
problem
the,
with that one.
I really like the.
Sorry, we've got another low-flying aircraft coming by.
All right. Krista, do you have a question?
So you're talking about working on Star Trek, but were you a Trekkie beforehand?
I was not so much of a Trekkie. I was definitely a Next Generation fan. Like I watched that one start to finish. And then from that, jumped over to Deep Space Nine. And while I was watching some Deep Space Nine, I went back to the original series, which I found even more interesting. But then I veered off towards Babylon 5, and the continuing storyline of that hooked me pretty strong. And then at some point during Babylon 5, my friend said, oh yeah, they're starting to pull that into Deep Space Nine. We've got ongoing stories with the Jem'Hadar and whatnot. And so I would say not full-blown fan, but I really love the series, and I love the heart that they always seem to maintain as an undercurrent in the storytelling of it.
Yeah, Next Generation's actually the first show I ever binge watched.
Nice.
From the beginning to the end. I was always I hate to say this, I was like against the idea of watching Star Trek, and then my older brother who's not here tonight, he made me watch the original series, and I was like, oh, this is great, and then watch all the movies. And
so having binged it, like you didn't watch it originally, you watched it, would we say fairly recently then in the binging world?
Probably like 10 years ago, maybe.
So a 1980s show about 10 years ago, how did it play for you as a bingeable?
Oh, I loved it.
commodity?
Yeah, it totally worked.
Great.
Yeah.
They found their stride in what would you say, like season 2-ish?
Yeah, I would think so. Season 1's fine, but yeah, once it gets 2 or 3, I think is that's what I've heard about. I've not watched Deep Space Nine. I've watched the first season, but I was told it gets really good in season 2 or 3.
It did. It did a lot of fun stuff. I think what was the Cardassian's name? The Taylor/spy. Do we know, is he one or the other? That was a fantastic character. It's kind of a potential bad guy foil, and yet he's there all the time. Yeah, good stuff. I'd recommend it.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite episode or a favorite series of Star Trek?
Well, it's probably a lot of people's favorite. I think there's something about I think it was called The Inner Light, Next Generation episode. It's when Picard at the very top scene gets zapped by that probe and wakes up on another planet. Through the episode, he lives an entire another life.
Oh,
By the end of the episode, he gets brought back, and it's only been moments. And it's a testament to the acting chops of Patrick and certainly whoever wrote the episodes. It's just gut wrenching. Like you feel everything that he lost from having lived that life. And for that in some primetime sci-fi show is just mind boggling for me. So I continually reference that one to friends. And then there's also, the multi-episode Worf stuff with the Klingons. That was always fun as well.
Yeah.
But those are probably my go-to favorites.
AJ says, let's see, huge Teen Wolf movie fan. How was it to work on the TV show? And how much different is it to work on a series from a movie?
The TV show was great. I had a blast on that. We had a really good season with the 3 Dread Doctors, and being there day to day and knowing that, as much as you can develop a character that doesn't have a face through physical movement or knowing what he's trying to accomplish that day, it was great to be able to revisit it week to week and see where it's going to go. A lot of times with a movie, it's a fast moving, well, maybe slow moving, but a very large thing with a lot of momentum, so many moving parts that you kind of have to just jump in and see what's going on and dive into their flow. Whereas with the TV shows, there seems to be a little more time to contribute ideas or just develop more things. Same with Evil for sure. Like they're a wonderfully collaborative group and open to suggestions, because as an actor, you try to ride that balance between having ideas, since you spend so much time thinking about your own character and what it might do or be or sound like, that having some ability to contribute is also very satisfying and contributes to the enjoyment of still doing this and playing these characters.
On Evil, what's your character George? What has that meant to you as an actor?
I love George. He's so much fun. I would say that based on stuff I've done in the past, where I'm usually just tucked away in the makeup, George has allowed me to do more of what I've trained to do as an actor than any other character I've played. I got to work with the wonderful Robert and Michelle King from nearly day one, kind of talking about him and what he represented in the show, come up with ideas of how he might sound or act or some of his physical characteristics. And then the makeup itself was very forgiving and allowed me to be expressive as an actor. Adore George. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but see some more George.
When you play multiple characters on a series, like on the same series, do you have, what kind of things do you do to make sure that they're, besides the makeup, but make sure that they're 2 different, characters?
Well, I think Sleepy Hollow is the best one. I think I clocked maybe 10, possibly 11 characters over several seasons of that. And yeah, I didn't want to make it just look like, oh, there's Marty again tromping around. So I would typically try to find an animal that would remind me of aspects of this character or that I could pull from to infuse this character with. And keeping something like that in my head, I can think, lizard, and immediately go into lizard mode. And that kept things pretty, hopefully, from my perspective, it kept it fresh for me. And I think that because I'm so conscious of that, then hopefully, as it comes out, there's some variation in the characters.
For the animals, how do you get to that animal? Is it like, do you look at yourself once you're in the makeup, or do you look at what the creature's going to look like?
That certainly helps. If I can get a hold of a script early and see what's going on, that's a large part of it. Talking with the makeup artist himself and seeing what he was thinking when he designed it, that's a huge part of it, because end of the day, I'm serving them and the storytellers. And because I love those makeup artists so much, and I want to do them proud. I want to, really bring their creation to life in the best possible way. So they're the best source of information because they've thought this up or had a nightmare and brought it up, and then spent all that time sculpting it and creating, they've lived in this character. So I always go to them and ask and see what they've been thinking about. And then all of that stuff, when I sit in the makeup chair, that's that's really where it comes together. Like I can kind of see where things are going. Once a few pieces are on and the glue's dried, I give it a couple little tentative wiggles to see how the movement plays and if I'm going to have to over or under move myself as I'm expressing things. And then when it's done, as we were talking about earlier, like when the lips no longer show pink or the eyes have been dehumaned, that's really when I can make any kind of final tweaks before we go out and find out if the director has even other ideas to alter things. So yeah, it's definitely a work in progress from go until action.
Tristan, you have a question?
Do you have any advice for people who might aspire to have a similar career as you?
Yeah, I think that certainly any kind of acting training is going to benefit you, even if you just want to do this for fun or explore more the physical thing. I think it never hurts because it allows you some kind of a framework for the character, no matter what. Physical training in general, being healthy, being flexible, yoga. If you want to get into this business, do yoga all the time. Any kind of strength training and flexibility.
Yoga on the show.
How many times?
Just in the last couple weeks, I think it's come up 3 times.
There you go. You're gonna have to do like a sub yoga channel now. Yeah, it certainly helps. You know, as I'm, I keep telling people, and I laugh before, during, and after I say it. I turned 50 this year, which I don't even understand because I'm still a kid. I'm still playing in this kind of kid world. I still try to keep myself active. I hate going to a gym. So if I work out, it's more finding some rocks to jump on or pick up or whatever, you know, it's play. I'm trying to stay fit and flexible by playing. This work is about playing. So maintaining that kind of like childlike, playful attitude to do this is really super key. If you're taking playing monsters seriously, might not be the right place for you because it really helps if you got that 5-year-old sensibility.
Leo definitely has that 5-year-old sensibility.
Right, and mentality. Nice. Yeah.
Great. You got to do it. You got to. I mean, why take stuff too seriously? There's enough to be serious about. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. That's a silly question, but have you ever tried DDP yoga? Former guest.
Say again.
Have you ever tried DDP yoga? The wrestler Diamond Dallas Page, he does DDP yoga. It's his own yoga, and I know a lot of actors and stuff who've used it.
I will look that up immediately.
And I'm
always looking for something fun.
Who have a lot of injuries used it, and it helped them rehabilitate.
Great. No, great. I mentioned earlier I was on a road trip, and I just kind of, for the first time ever, I guess technically it's called throwing your back out because it hasn't gone back in. So yeah, I'm back on the yoga track as soon as possible.
Good. Tristan, you have another question?
Yeah, I hope your back is better soon. I'm sorry to hear
Thank you. You haven't heard me squeak or anything, have you?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, if I groan, I'm not practicing. I'm just working it out.
We appreciate you joining us when you're a little under the weather.
Oh yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, so I'm aware that you work a lot due to your great relationships with makeup artists, but I'm also wondering if there's any directors that you're dying to work with or for.
Well, dying to work with. Robert King on Evil is directing an kind of upcoming episode. He directed the pilot, and that was such a glorious experience for me as an actor. I can't wait. As soon as that script came out and I saw his name attached, I emailed him like, Robert, I love it. I love it. I want to work with you. Can I do anything? Can I do anything? There's no monster in the episode, but we're going to try to find a way to maybe sneak Marty in there somewhere. Pie in the Sky business. I mean, Ridley Scott, I would love to work with Ridley Scott, James Cameron, these visionary powerhouses. Like Ridley's 80s now, and he's just killing it. Guys like that really inspire me and always have. I've always loved their films. Yeah, I mean, I'll go with those two off the top of my head. Something big, something epic. I'm not in a position where I, want to like lead a project, but just to kind of tuck in as one of the guys on the team. Yes, please. That'd be great.
By the way, Real Badger is an update. Bill Blair holds the Guinness World Record as having played the most alien species in prosthetics in movies.
There we go. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the name sounded familiar. Although, if you talk to Peter Weller, he might argue that he was like in the chair more than anyone else. He tells me he directed an episode of Sleepy Hollow when I was in a monster suit, and he came up, looked at me, he's like, I hold the record for sitting in the chair longest. I'm like, oh, great. Did you want to jump in my suit, or I could direct? It's okay.
Yeah.
He was a treat. I love that guy.
I'm a big fan of Peter Weller. I noticed he does direct like a lot of TV over the last few years.
Yeah, it's great. It seems like with his personality and temperament, he's right where he should be. He's such an intelligent guy. He's got amazing stories. He loves to tell them. He tells them well. And that was a fun episode to work on. He comes across, maybe he's listening to this, and Peter, I love you.
He's a big
He comes
fan.
across a little tough, but I quickly find his like soft underbelly, and I would exploit it any chance I could. There was one time when I was like running towards the camera, and it was the Yao Guai. It was this big red kind of Chinese looking devil thing on Sleepy Hollow. And I was supposed to run kind of towards the camera and veer off. Well, instead of veering off, I just ran right up to him and went and tickled him. Because why not? I'm a monster. What's he going to do?
I'm totally into this. Yeah. Along these lines, AJ wants to know, have you ever thought of writing your own scripts for a TV show or movie?
A little bit. I used to write a lot when I was younger. I've kind of veered off of it, but in recent years, I've thought of a couple ideas that are developable. I'm going to get my toes wet, starting up a YouTube channel, probably end of the month, possibly February, all COVID things considered, which will give me an opportunity to kind of explore that notion. Also incorporating some of the talking about acting and monster work.
Or
Say again?
What are the plans? What are the plans to do on the YouTube? Was it make shorts?
It's going to allow me. I've been a photographer since I was in high school, and I've done video. I've been an editor since the day Final Cut Pro 1.0 came out. I loaded it onto my iMac, and my top of my head blew off of the possibilities for storytelling in the editing room. And I did that for the better part of 20 years off and on while I was acting. So I kind of want to revisit and incorporate those loves of photography, of music creation as well. I'm going to score the thing. And I'm largely looking at a structure a little bit short filmy. They're not going to be like, hey guys, kind of YouTube channel guy. A little more high concept. I'm going to interview these people that I've worked with for so many years. It's going to branch out from makeup and acting, going more in the direction of anyone who develops their craft and applies it to their art at a high level, regardless of where that is, whether it's a ceramicist or a woodworker or someone who works on cars, anything that is kind of approaching that flow state you get into at a high level work when you've really built your craft. That's what excites me and juices me up. So that's how I can apply it.
Well, when you have it up, send it over and we'll share it for everyone who's watching this.
You better believe it. Yeah, I'll spread it far and wide.
Yeah, I like this idea. Real Badger says, I hated that Sleepy Hollow was canceled.
I hated that Sleepy Hollow was canceled.
Right.
That was a fun show. I feel like, the first two seasons, well, certainly the first half of the first season, like I was all in as a fan, as a watcher. First couple of seasons I thought were really good. I feel like they didn't quite know where they were going. Third season, the cast shakeup certainly, I think, was a nail in the coffin for the show. I'm not sure if they knew how to really recover from that. But how much fun, right? Like Guy Out of Time, Monster of the Week. It was tons of fun. I made a lot of really good friends on that and got to have a lot of good fun.
How has like the rise of I was on network, but the rise of streaming platforms, has that affected your career?
It seems like there's more content than you can shake a stick at, and that there should be plenty of work to go around. It's the same struggle it's always been for actually getting the work or getting connected to the work in a timely way. So I'm always looking into that stuff. And it's also a matter of like, something like The Mandalorian. Everyone's just drooling over The Mandalorian. So anyone who's ever had anything glued to their face is like, I want to be an alien in Star Wars. Working on it. But I think that it pretty much is the same as it's always been. It's just there's more opportunity. So persistence probably pays off more than it has in the past, but it's always the same grind. You know, you're still looking for work. You're still trying to find those connections and demonstrate your value so you can go play and have fun and be a kid. And speaking of Mandalorian, have you talked yet about the technology of the Mandalorian and the LED stage and whatnot? I'm nuts for that kind of technology. It's great. I want to see that
I have to
used in
admit,
more
I have
realms.
not seen the Mandalorian.
You what?
I have not seen the Mandalorian. I've not seen an episode. I know it's
Sorry, I
last
gotta go catch a boat. I think.
Troy is a big fan, though.
Yeah,
Our br-
it's
my
fun.
brother-
It's fun. Yeah, I try not to be too much of a purist. Like I was 7 when Star Wars came out, so the original trilogy is near and dear. Empire rocked my world as a kid
I
who
agree.
was only used to Disney happy endings at that point. So I take all the new ones with, you know, the best grain of salt that I can and just enjoy them for what they are. And the Mandalorian's kind of fun. It's got something special going on with it.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who are more of the traditionalists, like myself, who like the original trilogy, but they still love the Mandalorian. They say that's the closest to the original trilogy.
I think so. Yeah. And if you're a Kurosawa fan or a Sergio Leone fan, that mashup is really ideal. It's kind of what I've wanted with any long-standing movie property. I've always kind of hoped and wished that each installment would have a very distinct personality. Because why keep doing the same thing? Like we all know Peter Parker got bit by a spider. Like let's get on with it. Let's
Right.
have some more adventures.
Yeah, that's
And I
the
think-
problem when they reboot all that stuff is they always have to do the origin story, and it's like, well, we know that, you know.
It's running in our veins. We really don't. I'm just going to say it right now. We don't. That's the wrong choice. Studios. No, studios. Do new things. We want that. Don't be so safe. We want things that are risky. Like, I mean, I'm speaking for myself only, but I love to see things with a point of view. I love to see things that I have not seen before. I don't want to see the same thing all the time. And it's not a safe bet because as a fan like that, I'll veer off if it looks like it's too much of the same thing I've always seen. Like I like to be challenged as an audience member, and I like to work a little bit. And I think that a lot of studios, because they put so much into it, obviously, you know, they want some guarantee that they're going to not stink if it doesn't go. But like you said, with the digital platforms now and streaming services, there's so much content that I think, as we're seeing, you know, people are taking risks now. And I think digital has only helped in that regard, where you don't have to sink $250 million into a film. You can jump onto some streaming platform and do a series and actually explore some ideas at a high level and find an audience. It's great.
Yeah, I think like even some kind of like Breaking Bad became mainstream, and I don't think years ago that would have ever been made, like a show about a school teacher who becomes a meth dealer. But
Right.
since there's so many different, like, hey, we'll give this weird idea a chance, which I don't think would have happened years ago.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. And God
There's a
bless
lot
that
of, like,
it hit at the right time.
Well, besides horror, what kind of movies were you into before you got into the business?
I think I was a weird kid. I really loved Lawrence of Arabia from a really early age. So I was already kind of getting steeped in cinematic language and appreciating what those guys knew. And it took me a little while. I think I was in college when I finally discovered Kurosawa. And then, it just connected a bunch of dots all the way back. And so I still loved sci-fi. I'm always interested in anything that has a strong visual component. Anything that Denis Villeneuve does, I will gladly go stand in line to watch. I think I'm so excited for Dune. I know we're talking about remakes and not loving that. I'm legit excited for Dune. I can't wait to see what he does with that. The trailer looks fun. Looks beautiful. I think I veered off your question, but yeah.
No, it's totally fine though. Are you a fan of the first take on Dune?
First take. Are we talking the film, the movie that made it?
The movie, yeah. Not because then they remade it for sci-fi or something. But
who doesn't want to see Sting in winged underpants?
Me,
Apart from,
yeah.
I've had enough of Sting in his underpants. No, I think that was fun. I enjoyed it. I haven't revisited it. It came out. I accepted it as what would I have been? Maybe late teens, early 20s. I'd be curious to go back and see it now that our palettes are so much more refined with the quality of the work these days. I think Harkonnen might be a little funny, but yeah, I'd be curious. Have you seen it in any recent years?
Yeah, I can't say I'm a huge fan, but
Yeah,
I've always wanted to be more of a fan of it because it's
such rich
all-
material.
just like yeah, exactly, and like the visuals are cool, but as a movie, I'm not sure it really works.
Yeah, it's a hard one to translate. I mean, any novel that's that dense, novel series that's that dense. I mean, good luck trying to get that into 2 hours or 3 hours. I think if they wanted to throw that into the series mode and get picked
No,
up by some
definitely.
network, like that'd be the place to explore that world.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that that they do series. Like I know they're talking about doing a series of the vampire movie. I probably should have remembered the name before I even went into that.
Sparkly
movie.
vampires or
No. Interview with the Vampire, where they were going to each season would be one of the Anne Rice novels.
God, I hope they do. I'm gonna start growing my hair out again. Can I still get away with it? Maybe.
I think so.
Brilliant. I would love to see that. Those were fun. I love those books.
Yeah,
I even
think it's,
appreciated the film.
I think the first movie is really good. The sequel, not so much, but the
I never saw that
Diary
one.
of-
Yeah.
it's made by totally different people. It's not so great, but
Complete
I think it was
departure.
based off the Game of Thrones did so well, and it's kind of like the idea to take a series of novels and do a similar idea.
Yep. Now's the time. How are you doing with The Expanse?
Was that?
Are you watching The Expanse?
I'm not sure what The Expanse is.
Sci-fi series based on novels. Or I'm not sure if they've diverged by now. I actually didn't read the books, but I loved the first season, quite loved the second season, have taken a break doing other things, but it's a fun one.
I'll check this out.
Yeah.
What is it on?
Expanse. I feel like I've seen a sci-fi logo attached to that one. Don't hold me to it, but I think it's sci-fi.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different streaming out there. It's hard to remember which one's on what.
Yeah. How about, I'm
I'll
sorry,
just
I'm
look
interviewing you now. Rick and Morty. Speaking of legit sci-fi, are you a Rick and Morty guy?
I know what it is. I know what that one is, but I've not. I don't know. I'm not
You might
watched-
think it's just an old guy burping and a little guy squeaking, but it goes to some pretty serious sci-fi themes. It's a good one. I'd highly recommend that.
Is that with the pickle guy?
Pickle Rick. Yes. Yeah, that's where that came from.
If you ask me anything mainstream, like I'm probably not going to know it. But I watch a
Well, I
lot.
see, you've got your Monster Crunch behind you. I see you've got your Creature from the Black Lagoon behind you. I see some other things that I kind of locked into. In fact, I see the Barlow bust down there.
The candle, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And so what floated your boat coming up? Like, what's your favorite kind of horror? You like in the Thing pocket? Is that where your love is?
Yeah, I think that's one of the best horror movies. It's a combination of great acting, awesome monsters. So when I was a kid, I really liked the monster aspect, and then when I was older, I think all of it's a great movie, and the paranoia of it all around. I don't think there's really a negative about The Thing. The first things I was probably into are the Universal horror monsters in Psycho when I was a kid,
Right.
and then
Psycho when you were a kid.
Yes, honestly,
Awesome.
I started watching horror movies at about 6.
Brilliant. I like it.
My first memory of seeing a movie is at the drive-in with my mom and my older brother, single mom. So she would take him to the drive-in with his friends and bring me along instead of getting a babysitter.
Oh, nice.
And I
Early
remember
education.
this. Exactly. And so we're watching Night of the Living Dead, the original one. And I started to cry when the pickup blew up and they showed the zombies eating them. And my mom turned to me and said, "It's okay. They're just having a barbecue." And then I was fine with it.
Horror is
totally
okay.
fine.
Nice. I had my early driving experience was a little different. It was a double feature of got a really old stop motion dinosaur movie and Smokey and the Bandit.
Okay. I'm a big fan of stop motion. I
Yeah.
tried to get Ray Harryhausen on the show many times in the early days, but never
Oh my
worked
God,
out,
that would be great. Yeah, that stuff's glorious. There was a God. I don't know if I
Jason
should.
the Argonauts, I think, has some of the best scenes ever in film. The skeleton scene.
It's so cool.
I still think
Even
is
if
one
they
of the-
have to enhance it digitally, I would love to see one commit nowadays in a modern project to that stop motion look,
I love
because
that.
I don't know how it affected you, but as a kid, like I knew there was something off, but that off made it even scarier.
Makes it creepier, yeah.
Absolutely. Like, can you imagine pulling that off now? Like something kind of jittering its face over, like terrifying. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I can't, I was just say but even basket cases like the early 80s, but I can't remember like anything recent that they used stop motion in.
Hashtag bring back stop motion.
I'm totally on board in this, yes. Trying to think of others. Well, even King Kong's great. That's one of my favorites.
Kong? Yeah. What do you think of the new versions of them? The new Godzillas and the new Kongs.
I didn't hate it. I'm not like in love with it, but
Mhm.
it was better than I expected. With the great big, he was very big in the newest one.
Yeah, I heard that they're announcing I think the new trailer. I don't know what, if I think this Sunday they're showing the new teaser trailer for the Godzilla King Kong mashup. Which the 5-year-old in me, even though I know it's digital, it's so pretty. It's going to look great. And I want to
Yeah.
see big
I
monsters
actually like
breaking
the
things in slow
Godzilla
motion.
movie that some people didn't like the newest Godzilla, but I liked it. Just watching it on the giant screen in
Mhm.
IMAX was a lot of fun.
Entirely
truly
entertaining.
monsters in that.
It's hard for me to find a lot of fault in that because, like I said, the quality of the effects now are so good that I can forgive a pretty big portion of maybe shoddy storytelling. Not saying that applied to Godzilla necessarily, but
Sure.
the visual elements can carry me over. But if you can combine the visual stuff and the quality that they're making now to like really good storytelling, it's a good time to be a fan of cinema.
I agree. Especially that movie is because when I watch it on the smaller screen, not nearly as impressive. It still looks cool, but that's a movie that really played best on the IMAX.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, IMAX is great tech.
Trista, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about like giant monster movies. If you are a fan of giant monster movies, and if so, do you have any favorites?
I mean, my dad and I would watch the kaiju marathons every Christmas together. So I definitely have like a soft spot for that. Yeah, all of them. I really like Mothra.
Yeah. That was my attempt to do the little song that the little girl sang.
That was good. I bought it.
My voice is not high enough. But Mothra's very cool.
Those were great. And
scary.
even knowing that there were people in the suits back in the day, like I both bought it and wanted to be in the suit even as a kid. Like it worked both ways for me. And now that they're digital fests, I recognize there's no opportunity to be in those suits, but bring on the digital destruction. Like that's one of the things CG does best, breaking things into pieces.
At a convention, they brought a monster. What is it called? Monster Party. They actually brought out. He passed away since then, but he played the guy. I think he played him in the original movie. The guy who played Godzilla.
Yeah, I got to meet him at a Monster Palooza or a Son of Monster Palooza a few years back. It was quite a treat.
That's pretty. Yeah. Oh, but when you mentioned creature, this is one of the things I'm most proud about doing the show is we had Ben Chapman on the show, played the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, brilliant.
On the land scenes. I was just say before he passed away, but obviously I didn't have him on after he passed away. But after the show, he sent a bunch of stuff, and that's one of the things he sent. He sent an autograph photo, and
cool.
upstairs, the best thing is he sent a copy of his original contract.
What?
And it's it's
cool.
awesome. And
Wow.
He was paid like $300, I think. to play the-
Wow, that's really awesome. What a
Yeah.
treasure.
And I also have to mention, Troy, my brother, used to do caricatures of all the guests, but once we started doing weekly, it was just too much to keep up with.
Sure.
But Ben asked if I could send him like 4 copies, which I did, and so he kept one, and then he sent 3 back signed to me, Troy, and our John used to be on the show, and so that means a lot to Troy having his character that he drew of Ben Chapman, and he signed it to him.
Nice. That's really cool.
Really nice guy.
Lovely memorabilia.
He was not doing well at the time. I think he knew he didn't have a long time left. And when we called him, he was not in good health. He was on oxygen. And I was like, well, we can do it, another time. And he's like, this is what he said, which sounds kind of funny, but he's like, no, let's do it before I croak. And, but when we started, like his spirit lift up, and he, afterwards he said he wanted to do something where, people could listen to it for forever and get his,
Right.
So it meant a lot to me.
I think, yeah. And on the back side of your life, like what a great thing to revisit, reminisce about. I'm sure that was a pretty pivotal, memorable portion of his life, surrounded by really great people.
A lot of fun telling the stories. Like even after they did the movie, he would wear the costume on like the Universal lot.
Yeah.
Like jump out of the pond, like I don't know what it was, like a lake or whatever they had on.
Sure.
And scare people, and you could tell it was a lot of fun for him.
How fun. Yeah. There's something magical about that. We were talking about the Zach's zombie thing.
Yeah.
I was only a part of that when they came back to Universal to do some reshoots for the end credit scene, but was there for a couple of days, and they were running trams very close to where we were getting made up. So at one point I kind of half asked, half didn't ask, and started creeping around the trams. And then a few other people like, oh, well, they can't fire us all. So there were a bunch of zombies attacking the tram for the better part of a morning while we were sitting waiting to go on.
I love it.
It was a cool place. I grew up there. I was back in the day of Frankenstein and the big foam boulders you could grab and huck around. Loved Universal.
Yeah. That reminds, go back to Star Trek. That reminds me of the episode of Star Trek when I forget the name of the monster, but when he's one of the most famous episodes when it's him and Captain Kirk and they're fighting in the desert, and he throws the big boulder, and you could totally tell it's just a big styrofoam boulder, but it's pretty
foam
awesome.
Bouncy boulder.
Yeah.
Which one was that? Was it the lizardy guy, the Gorn or something?
Yes, the Gorn. That's
yeah. They shot up at the rocks up at Vasquez, I think.
AJ Zyla says Robot Chicken is a great stop motion show. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that.
Great stop motion show. And they did a really cool thing with the original Sleestack from Land of the Lost. Mm-hmm. When we were getting ready to do Land of the Lost, the remake, because I said, and I was one of the older guys there even at the time, I'm like, I grew up with that show. So if you need anyone to like go through the movements and stuff, I'd be happy to. So I put together some video of the TV show, and then I capped it at the end with that segment from Robot Chicken when all the Sleestackers sit in the library, and one of them goes, and the other one's like, and the other one's, and it's just a big hiss fest. So yay, coming together of worlds.
Yeah. So that has to be, I don't know if they're fun or what the right word is, but something you grew up watching of that, then you're in the movie version.
Oh, buddy. It was a joy. It was one of the hardest jobs I've ever done, being glued into that thick of a foam suit on a soundstage when they didn't really know how to keep the temperature for all of the Sleestack. So the first couple of days were an exercise in not being the first one to pass out. And I think there were a few of us who did pass out, but that was fine. It was a sweat fest every day. It was smelly and gross. And it was one of the most joyful jobs that I've ever had just because of that. I think I was 4 and 5 when the original TV show was on, and I would watch it religiously. I didn't understand all of the, implications of the writing, because I think they brought in some pretty good sci-fi writers for the episodes, but man, give me those stop motion dinosaurs and all the Sleestacks, and then to come back and put on the suit as an adult. Yeah, that was fantastic.
That's pretty awesome. So what was it like being part of American Horror Story? We haven't talked about American Horror Story.
Tons of fun. It was great. The makeup was easy as they go. It was basically just getting very bloody and dirty on my torso and then pulling on the big pig head and going out and trying to be creepy and scare people. Everyone on it was tip top pro. The sets that we got to play on were the exterior of the house was at one location. The interior was on the stages, and the interior was beautiful. I wanted to just live there. That house they built was solid, real construction.
They built it for the show?
Yeah, the whole thing. I don't think they might have even put up the exterior because it was just a facade. Yeah, they had to have. There was nothing really significant inside. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful design, beautiful construction. So that's kind of where I geek out. You know, I love wearing the stuff, but being a visually minded photographer background guy, like I'll spend a lot of time just walking around the sets, kind of like looking at the details and appreciating the design that's gone into them. That's a big part of the joy that I'm still getting out of this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was great. And loved wearing the pig head. I mean, all I had to do was just try to make Sarah scared or Cuba scared or whoever scared. The little girl, like if you've seen the series, you know, there's that one episode when he picks up the butcher's knife and looks around, he sees the little kid and starts going after her. I don't know if you get any sense about me here in the podcast, but I'm a pretty mellow guy and I love puppies and kids flock to me. And like, you know, I couldn't be farther from all these creepy things that I play. And so I was a little concerned on the day that, you know, I have to like, I'm this scary looking 6'4" thing with a knife and I have to come at this kid and she's going to scream. And I was having a little hard time. That little kid was such a tip top pro. She put me at ease. There were a couple other kids there that day and they were just shooting the breeze with me and telling jokes and talking about the makeup and, oh, let me poke the pig head and blah, 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 blah. And then ready, set, go. And she's like, ah, being a professional little screamer. So, yeah, stuff like that. If I have to be genuinely threatening to someone young, that hurts. I have a problem with it, but they're typically having such a good time doing the show that they don't care at all. Like they know me as me by that time. Same with Evil and the girls in that show. They love George. He's their puppy.
Well, you mentioned loving puppies, and when I announced you're coming on the show, I went and looked. You know, I was trying to get pictures actually for the banner.
I love the banner. You found some.
And I was like, oh, he's got a lot of kitten pictures. So I actually told Trista, because we're both animal people, and Trista right away said, oh, well, I already like them.
Yeah, we've got a couple of crazy young cats. They're brothers, and they're just nutso. They really want my dog, who's now 12, to be their buddy. She's 12, so she's not that excited about being their buddy. So seeing the kittens try to engage with the older puppy is pretty hilarious. But yeah, I'm an animal lover, and they know it. Like, you know, you kind of lead with your energy, and I can't tell you the number of times I've been like walking where other people are walking with their dogs, and their dogs will like veer off and try to come up to me to say hi, and I'm like, great, hi, I know you. Let's scratch butts. Can't stop myself. I've done that in makeup several times too, and most of the time the dogs are like, whatever, just scratch me.
Yeah, I've also had experience reverse of that, where I've had pets and I've had people like neighbors where the animals did not like them, and it always gave me the idea that they might not be the greatest people if your pets don't like them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. I think that
can sense, you know, if you're a good person or not.
Yep. They're more subtly attuned to. I'll say it again, like, you know, your energy, you know, whatever you're putting out as your vibe or what have you. They definitely know. It can be informed by their experiences, just like people, and they may change their minds. You know, I've had some people with very nervous dogs where, like, I'm such a dog person anyway that I'll walk up to them and ask if I can say hi to their animal. And a lot of the people with the nervous dogs, I'll only do it if it seems like I could offer something. And occasionally I will do that. Like, I'll say, you know, can I say hi to your dog, knowing it's nervous? And they'll be like, I don't know. I'm like, it's okay. I'm a dog whisperer. And it almost always works out great, because they understand that you're not a threat. So if you're just a good person, they're going to get that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I live in a pretty there's a lot of animals around where I live, wild animals, and so skunks and squirrels, coyotes and everything, but uh raccoons. But the point was, if you don't do anything to startle them or anything, they're going to leave you alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep,
A lot of
yep.
wild turkeys around here recently.
What my one and only experience with wild turkeys is maybe they're not the sharpest animal in the knife drawer. There was one that kind of fell out of a tree while I was walking down a path one time. I just heard this, and then he got up and shook it off.
I didn't know they could jump into trees until they started coming around a lot. And it is kind of weird though, because I was outside once and one jumped up onto the roof of my house, and they're so big, and it's kind of weird to see this big giant bird just kind of jumping over your head. And they fly, but not like into great distances. Kind of fly
Yeah.
up into the roof or up into.
It's like a boosted jump.
Yeah, but yeah, they're not. I guess that's where bird brain comes from. Birds might not be the smartest.
Fair.
But no offense to any birds that are watching from them.
Right. You know, we like the birds. Birds are cool too.
Right. Tristan, do you have another question?
What kind of roles really excite you?
Layered roles, something with depth, something that what I think I know of acting at this stage of my life, it's, you know, I love something that a character that's playing against what he's saying. You know, there's nothing better than as a viewer seeing something where you're like, oh, no, I hear what he's doing, but I see what he's doing, and it's not the same. Anything that you can do like that as an actor to infuse some depth into the character, like that kind of stuff really turns me on.
If it's not there in the script, do you do anything to try to add your own layers to it or your own backstory to a character?
For sure. Yeah. I want to be thinking about something while I'm saying things. And again, like I'm always learning, and I'm learning from people who've done it far better than I ever will. And everything that interests me is seeing that. So if I get something now where I'm even fully lost in a makeup and don't even have maybe that much to do, I will come up with something for myself to inform something, because I think that no matter what, some of that's going to come out. Like with the Dread Doctors, for example, you know, I didn't do the ADR for that. So when he had a voice, it wasn't on my shoulders. I just had whatever I could do within that cloak with that hammer. And so I would come up with a complete idea for what this doctor creepy dead thing was up to that day, and try to infuse it with that. So it makes it more fun for me. And then I think the camera does pick up whatever it needs to see of that. It will change things. Certainly with George, like on Evil, like he's I was able to layer in more with him. Like I said, he's got more than some of the other characters that I've played. And I was always playing him. He would kind of vacillate between things. Like he had this animal side that occasionally he just couldn't control, but he was really trying to be the human that he may or may not have been in a previous incarnation. So he was kind of like trying to play, you know, this affect. Don't even know if it was real. Like he could either have been this monster or he could have been this human. So it was fun to kind of like let him flow between those things. And he had a sense of humor. Like I loved playing that too. As he's doing these horrible things, he was enjoying himself.
Did you ever get to do any conventions like from any of those, like George or for the Piggy Man?
You know, I haven't, and it's been brought up a couple of times that based on the amount of characters that I've played, that it would be a good thing to do. I'm interested. I've always felt kind of, what should we say? I don't know if shy is the right word, but I don't necessarily feel for me that it's justified until I have a character that I've played that more people are aware of, where they might then look to see who's playing him. Whereas now I could bring a bunch of things and enjoy talking to people, but it'd be more like, oh, I know that guy. Oh, hey, I know, you know, it'd be more like recognition after the fact, which is fine either way. But I would say that overall, the opportunity just hasn't come up yet, or I haven't made the right connections to generate that opportunity. But certainly not opposed. It seems like a great way to talk to people once COVID leaves us alone for a while.
Oh, Neil may have frozen here.
He looked
there he
very
is.
quiet for a bit there. I was wondering if he was pondering. He was pondering very seriously.
Sorry, Neil, were you saying something? You were frozen for us.
Probably, but it probably wasn't important because I don't remember what it was.
Would you like to say something different?
I'm getting a thing that says my internet is unstable.
That's
isn't it always?
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be me, but it's you, Neil.
Yeah. It was snowing earlier. I don't know what it's like out at the moment.
Snowing? Great.
Yeah.
I was in 18-degree weather day before yesterday, and now I'm by the beach, and it's like nice upper 50s. I'm not quite sure what to do with myself.
Yeah, I think it was 21 when I went to get my surgery earlier. It was snowing.
Right. You had a thing. You had a thing that you said to me. It was like, it sounded like this. I just got this little thing. And then I see a shot on, was it your Instagram? And you look like the mommy.
Yeah, it was a lot more involved than they had told me it was going to be.
How you doing? Feeling all right? Are those medications working their magic?
I'm not on any medication, which I can feel at the moment that the numbness is gone. But I have a makeshift stool here. I actually have a bucket under the table, an upside down bucket. That's my footstool.
That's your prop?
Yeah. As long as I don't kick it, I guess I'll be all right.
Don't kick anything. Heal well. Drink your green juices.
Ashley, he said, come hell or high water, I will talk to Marty Matulis today.
That is very true.
Commitment, buddy. Love that. Appreciate that. If you'd done this from your hospital bed, I would have tried to bring you chicken soup.
That would have been something. Ashley Turner wants to know, have you considered creating an iconic monster or creature yourself?
Well, that kind of goes back to that writing a script idea. One of the ideas I can kind of hint at, it was more kind of like a on the nose comedy thing about like the guys who play these things. It's kind of a small community and we all know of each other. Thought it'd be hilarious to get like Jones and Doug Tate and Brian Steele and Derek Mears, and any of these guys, Alexander Ward, who I worked with a lot on Sleepy Hollow. There's like maybe, I don't know, a dozen of people who seem to do a lot of this stuff that at least I'm aware of. Getting them in kind of like a Friends-esque situation comedy, but somehow monstery. That's a possibility. But I think it would be fun to kind of develop a legit property where I'd get to explore something. Yeah, I don't even know where that would go, but not overly elaborate, but maybe like the downfall, the decay of man into a monster, or reverse it, monster into a man. That kind of a journey sounds like it could be an epic thing.
You mentioned a friend of mine there, Brian Steele. Have you worked with him, or you just know him through the industry?
I know him through Spectral Motion, who used him a lot on the Hellboy movies and a variety of other things. And then we became friends because we have kind of a similar mindset on things. Like I've hung out with him at the beginning of a couple of bike races when he got into bike racing across the country, and I appreciate the work ethic. He doesn't do anything half-assed, and I just really like the guy. We got along well as friends, as with Derek Mears, and a lot of these guys are just really good people, or kids at heart, having fun, trying to have as much fun as possible in this business.
Yeah, Brian Steele's great, and him and Mark Patton from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, they were the two guys that recommended me to conventions, and that's how I got involved doing conventions and doing. I hosted a lot of panels and stuff in the early days, and it was they were the guys who put a good word in for me.
Brilliant.
And the first panel
How did you originally meet Brian?
I ever hosted was with Brian Steele.
Nice. You guys were friends for way back, did you? You know Derek
Brian
too?
Steele and Derek Mears.
Awesome.
Yeah. Not
They're
as
good
well,
guys.
but he was in the panel. Yeah. And the third guy in that panel, not a great guy. So I won't mention him, but
No, we won't talk about him.
he got up and left during the panel. It was a very strange experience.
Was he overly
I don't
hydrated? Did he just have to skip off to the bathroom or something?
No, he looked at me, he said, "How long is this?" And I said, "It's supposed to be and this was like 10 minutes in. I said, they told me an hour." And he's like, "Nope." And he got up and walked out.
Huh. How fun.
And he's not been brought back to any other conventions I know of.
Yeah, isn't it funny how that works out?
Wasn't the greatest guy to be around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think your reputation definitely precedes you, in this kind of work. And this is populated by a bunch of artist nerd kids who love cinema and love monsters. And, nobody wants to have a bad time in that world.
mhm.
It's
Yeah.
fun, making these disgusting things. You want to have a good time. You want to surround yourself with fun people. So
Right.
yeah, I can
And
see
if
why he
you're
might
not-
have fallen off the
if
map.
you're not, at least pretend that you want to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, put on a good face at the very least.
Right. AJ says he enjoyed the show, and he suggests a gruesome version of Benjamin Button. Oh, I guess that's what he thought your idea earlier was.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Right. Yeah, that could be something.
Yeah.
Dark twist on the Button story.
Right. I like it. Are you working on anything currently? I guess COVID has.
COVID. Yeah, all answers for COVID now. Fortunately, Evil is shooting season 2. They are going to heroic lengths to protect the safety of their cast and crew. They've got, if you know about it, they're implementing the pod system. So there's minimal interaction between pods. So if anything does come up, they can isolate the pod or the person from the pod. And apart from some individual isolated incidents, they're doing great. And the season is progressing. And I don't know to this episode number we're at, coming up on 4 or 5, how much I'm going to be in the later part of the season, but I'm certainly going to be in it for a bit here and there.
Very cool.
Yeah. After that, I don't know. It's all just, whatever comes up or whatever I can put my name into the hat for, which I try to do here and there. That's also kind of a trick in the industry, or even a trick for me and my personality type. Like, I recognize the benefit of knocking on doors here and there, but I'm not a huge door knocker. I kind of like to let things come to me and then be gracious and accept them. So like, I've reached out to a couple people. As the Star Wars fan that I am, I would of course love to get on The Mandalorian anywhere, doing anything, bar patron number 22 would be fine. But apart from those things right now, not a lot's in the works. I usually try to keep my ear to the rail with any makeup artists that I've worked with who have a copy of some of my body parts, a head or a hand or a teeth or body, whatever. Because then I know that at least there's a stronger possibility that I'll be in the running for something. And then I can usually check in and see what's going on with those guys. Always hoping. It's still fun. Love doing this.
Yeah. Tristan, you have another question?
Yeah, you've played a lot of scary characters. I'm wondering if you have any fears or phobias that you're comfortable telling us about.
Nothing really significantly like debilitating or things that keep me up at night. I really don't like macro photography of spiders. I can handle them when they're out and
That's a
about.
very specific one.
It is. Anytime I see that, like, they just have too many eyes, and I don't trust anything with that many eyes. They can see too much. But anything that I've played, like, I've never.
You're giving away too much of why this scares you. It's not really the spider.
Stop, spiders. But they do great work. I'm fine with them in the garden. I just don't want to like see them right here staring at me.
Right.
Or if you want to Google this one, I think it might have been a Japanese lady who had a spider that decided to crawl into her ear and turn around and hang out. And when they went in to get it, of course, they would go in with a camera first, and that's just nightmare fodder for me right there.
Yeah.
But apart from that, no, I can't really say that there's much of anything like that really bugs me like that or keeps me up worried about things.
Well, that's a significant one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It does remind me when I was, I don't know, early teens, maybe I was playing. We used to play poker with my family, and a moth flew into my uncle's ear, and he actually had to go to the emergency room to get it out.
Did he finish his hand?
I think we did, yeah.
Nice. Good.
That brings back to Mothra too.
Right. Good God. Don't want that in your head.
Brings everything connected.
Well, okay. So then now that we're going down the path, that reminds me of, was it Star Trek Wrath of Khan?
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
fine. Okay, fine. So that creeped me out. It creeped me out when he put the fork down and the thing was kind of struggling. And then he lifts up that armor plate or like goes in with forceps. And first of all, I'm like, all that sand is going to get in there. That's horrible. And then he pulls out that little squiggly thing and drops it in the guy's ear to, control him.
Yeah.
That might have damaged me just a little bit.
Yeah. That I know it's like everyone says it, but that is my favorite of the movies, part 2, Wrath of Khan.
It was good for a lot of reasons. I can go back and watch that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Not just Kirk yelling Khan. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah. It's got the meme factor, it's got the creep out factor, but also just good story.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Definitely. Yeah. So where can people follow you?
Oh,
Not to,
what
like,
have we
your
got?
home. Follow you online.
My social security number is not available for anyone. My Instagram, I do the Instagram at Marty Matulis. I have a slightly less actorly, a little more personal one at Amplified Focus. It's a little more outdoorsy, me and my dog, kind of trying to keep those two not separate because, I do kind of crossover, but I wanted to have 2 channels so I can focus on this one and focus on that one. I don't really tweet. I read it for news-ish, but I don't really get involved with that. I had a bad breakup with Facebook, and we're fine now. Moving on with our lives.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, when the YouTube channel is live, that's going to be announced on probably both of my Instagrams, and I think it'll be fun. It's going to have to really kind of find its way because I've got a lot of ideas. So it's not going to be super focused off the top, but it'll be fun. It'll be worth watching.
Yeah. I think we're both interested in checking that out.
Yeah, buddy. It was a pleasure seeing you guys.
Yeah, this has been great.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. You enjoy the rest of your day and your time with your family.
Yes, sir. Heal up.
Stay safe. Thank you.
Be well, guys. Be safe.
Thank you. You too.
We'll talk soon.
All righty.
Bye.